We are quickly headed towards the end of the season, and at the end of tonight's episode, we are only down to 3 competitors. I think we only covered like days like 48 to 52 in this episode, which is a little strange to cover so few days this late into the season, or with this low number of competitors. Let's get into our first person of the night, and that is going to be Adam. Of course, he sadly had to tap out. I think that we kind of saw this being inevitable for Adam. The calorie expenditure was just too high, and the food gathering was just not happening for him. You know, it looked from my perspective that he was doing everything he could think of to try and secure himself some more calories, but it just wasn't enough. They posted the graphic pretty early in the episode that he was down 51 pounds, and pretty much all season long, if they show how much weight you've lost, your time on the show is just about over. So down 51 pounds, you know, Adam isn't an enormous man, so that is a significant amount of weight loss. I don't think that he, like when he took his shirt off, I don't think he looked as bad as like when Terry took his shirt off, but ultimately I think Adam made the right decision in tapping out. Also wanted to say Adam commented on our video last week just to clarify some things about the new river he found, and the big reason why he never found that river earlier was that in order to get to that area on his location, it was almost entirely bog to get there, and it wasn't passable until things started freezing. So really, you know, he only ended up having any sort of access to this area for around a week. Just a little bit too late in the season. You know, would have been good for Adam if he could have fleshed out what his resources were going to be in that area when he had a little more energy and a little more calories going through his body. Let's go through what actually happened to Adam on this episode. And the first big thing is he loses an arrow while walking. You know, we've seen how precious of a resource the arrows are this season. Adam, I think, ends up down to only 4 arrows after he loses one while walking. You know, that has to be like such a blow to your morale. Just not even missing a shot. Like, you weren't even attempting to get food. You were just walking, and a tree just walked up to you, snatched one of your arrows, and threw it on the ground to never be seen again. He did get a grouse, and you'd think that that would have been a big boost to him. You know, I think that was pretty much all the food that we saw obtained this episode. Carrie Lee got a squirrel, but you know, you see him get that grouse and think that it's huge for the point of the season that we're at, but it kind of had the opposite effect on Adam. You know, he was getting burnt out by continually killing and was just hitting his limit physically and mentally, emotionally. It kind of all piled up on Adam right at the end, and killing that grouse, you know, might have been the thing that really pushed him over the top. You know, as soon as we saw him take that shirt off, like, you knew he's getting pretty skinny and ultimately didn't have much time left out there. He decides that he's going to focus on getting a black bear. That plan did not last very long. That was, you know, last ditch effort for Adam. Basically put it all on the line and came up short. You know, before he even got to where he wanted to go scouting for the black bear, his body was telling him that his time was done. I believe he described his legs as lead, and you know, at that point he just turned around, walked back, and got ready to tap out. And of course, right as he's ready to tap out, the fattest grouse of the season is just sitting in his camp. And I thought it was a fitting end for Adam, you know, have that shot of the grouse and make the decision to not kill it, and then hit the button and head home. Very much appreciated Adam this season. Probably had the cleanest shelter out of anyone this season. I don't know if it was the best or not, but it looked pretty damn good. He did pretty solid at getting food for himself, but really I think that for the food he was getting, he was just expending more calories than a lot of the other competitors. You know, like you look at Juan Pablo, he pulled in a lot of calories just from fishing. You know, that wasn't 3 to 4 hours hiking through the bush. That was just him sitting on his dock casting. Timogen, we saw multiple times that animals just seemed to like come into his camp, like straight into his cook pot, like almost 0 calories expended there. Even Carrie Lee, you know, she's kind of just chilling up on her hill with her stash of fruit, and you know, is just content riding it out as far as she can. Meanwhile, Adam, he was set on hunting. He was set on getting out there and doing everything he could. So very much enjoyed Adam this season, but he ends up in 4th place. So now on to our final 3. We'll start off with Carrie Lee. Apparently, she heard all of us complaining about the singing and immediately opens the episode with more Carrie Lee singing. So I expect lots of comments again about the singing, whether it's on my videos or in the subreddit. You know, how many singing threads are we going to get this week? Watching her fire those arrows at the squirrel was pretty rough. You know, in my opinion, that was a pretty tough shot from the distance, and she ends up missing the squirrel twice. First shot hits the tree, bounces straight back, lands at her feet. Second shot kind of ricochets off deep into the forest, and you know, I'm immediately thinking that's a lost arrow, and somehow she manages to retrieve it. I think that was kind of Carrie Lee's body telling her, you know, maybe you're gonna have to put down the bow a little bit and focus on some other things, because your body's just not able to handle the bow the way it used to, and the accuracy is just dropping as a result. Now, I'm not saying that she should put the bow down, keep it with her, but I think it was a good decision for her to switch her energy towards trapping. And we saw her go out, put numerous traps and snares around the forest, and it did manage to work out for her, as she did trap a squirrel and get one delicious squirrel meal out of it. Next up, let's jump over to Juan Pablo. He opens up, he's making earplugs. That's gotta be an alone first. Having trouble sleeping, he decides to cut up a t-shirt, make himself some earplugs. Focusing a little bit more on improving his shelter and sleeping arrangements. You know, he wants to make sure that he's comfortable enough to get a full night's sleep, and you know, that's not too bad of an idea, especially with the weather changing and most of our competitors being forced to kind of change their strategy at this point. You know, instead of struggling with that decision, he focuses on improving an area that he can work on, and you know, I think that was a good use of his time. I guess he got over the stomach issues. That was maybe a little bit of a red herring last episode. Saw lots of people predicting on Reddit that he was going to be our tap out for this week, but I kind of thought that maybe him complaining about his stomach was a bit of a decoy for us. So day 50, time for some new socks. I love that whole little scene with Juan Pablo, you know, talking about his grandma giving him socks at Christmas, and basically how happy he was to be able to put on a pair of fresh socks at day 50. The dock, it's not really getting used that much for fishing anymore, but it turns out it's pretty damn good for getting water. He can just walk out on the dock, scoop his pot into the water, and he is good to go for the day. One interesting development from Juan Pablo, which could end up being either the winning or losing decision of the season, is he plans to fast for the next 20 days. He's going to hunker down and just try to outlast everyone else. You know, with what we can see of the other competitors, if Juan Pablo can survive for 20 more days, I think that this could be a winning strategy. The way everyone is slowing down now that the snow is falling, and it doesn't really seem like many people have a big cache of food. I suspect Carrie Lee has a little bit of fruit stash somewhere that we're not really being shown, but I don't know how much food Timogen has stashed away. So this could be the winning move for Juan Pablo. We'll have to see over the next few episodes how it plays out. So last up we have Timogen. Dr. Tan, this was not his best episode. You know, he was kind of getting the possibly tapping out edit for the week. Could have just been a decoy, but I don't really think so. You know, we saw his weight loss on the screen, 44 pounds down. He's starting to have issues with hunger and didn't get any food this episode. You know, the most interesting part was him building that bird trap. Ends up being quite the contraption, but it did not work. We'll have to see next episode if it has better luck, but I'm not supremely confident. You know, it looked really interesting, but I kind of feel like maybe he would have been better off with some sort of deadfall trap right above his kind of pile of buried whatever it is, squirrel guts, grouse guts. I just think that's maybe too much work, but just a simpler solution to potentially catch a bird to put in his cook pot. And then, you know, that's about all I got to say for Timogen this week. Down to our final three, everybody. Who are you betting on? Juan Pablo and the fasting, Carrie Lee and all of her freshly set traps, and maybe some stored up fruit? Or is it going to be Timogen, who is, you know, just wasn't a great week for him. You know, he needs to have those grouse starting to fly back into his camp, and at this point in the season, I'm just not sure that's going to happen for him. So that wraps everything up for this week, everybody. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.